morning. Welcome to episode 3 of Chandramala Mindful Business Consultancy. Today, we are going to just go on a recap and just go and check what is the heartbeat of your business, just to ensure that it is at an optimal level. And then what we're going to be doing is we're going to be working with your organogram of your organization. Have a look at the flow between different departments and from the different people within your organization. The most important element with the internal flow is that your business and the people are working in unity towards the vision of the organization. This is also probably one of the most fascinating and interesting elements of the business alignment approach, due to the fact of the people element. So we have a look at people's behavior, we look at their mindset, we look at their perceptions of things, and we align that to what the organization desires from them and with them. And as I mentioned in my previous episode, is that we got to ensure that our value system is in alignment with each other. And in our world today, we're working with different people, different backgrounds, different belief systems, etc. And it is so important for us to have the acceptance of each one in their unique element of who they are, and not coming from a judgment point of view. And so the internal flow is probably one of the more intricate areas that we actually work with on an organizational alignment on an executive level. There may be occasions that we may need to bring a specific staff member in, etc., but very seldomly, unless it comes up in the actual alignment process. Rather, we prefer to work on an executive level to incorporate a broader understanding and flow with it. The important element of the internal flow alignment part of the process is to ensure the harmony between each individual as well as each department within the organization. And so here we really have a look at which is the department that is perhaps the problematic department, or where is the conflict kind of starting from. And so the root cause of those elements is fundamentally important, because we often try and address things on the surface level and we don't actually go to the root cause. With the alignment process, we not only work with the surface level situations, but we actually look at the root cause. And I think this is probably where the most profound work occurs and the transformation happens, because we are working on that very deep essence of the problem of that organization. And once we've identified it through a dialogue process, we can start to rephrase the problem, we can shift our mindset around the problem, and we can start to have a new perspective on how do we actually steer the business forward, and how do we steer each department and their group of people in the direction that is not only beneficial for the individual, but the department as well as the organization. So it's quite an intricate and quite a complex process, but it's a fascinating process because of the human behavior. We look at the human value system, and we look at the organization's value system, and we all have different values, and we all have different perceptions of values. So for instance, trust is, yes, I trust the economy, yes, I trust the government, yes, I trust myself. But when we really go down deeper, we may find that perhaps as a child, that individual maybe was neglected by his parents, or was perhaps adopted, and so there is an element of trust that somehow filters through into the business. Now, we unfortunately can't go into everybody's therapy process, because that would take us years to get through that process, but it is important to see what is the priority that comes up. And once we've shifted that priority issue or concern within the organization through a particular individual who is simply going to be a catalyst for us, the heartbeat starts to beat better, and the flow within the organization actually works better. And we find that interconnectedness between the different people in the different departments automatically seems to be different. And we can't always really pinpoint when people in the organization say, things are different. Things are just flowing. Wow, I'm actually speaking to this person, or this person is speaking to me, and yet we were quite competitive with each other. And these are kind of the subtle yet quite profound changes that do occur in the organization. And through this flow, we get so much more clarity around our purpose. And so that really is amazing. When people feel a lot more confident, they feel a lot more aligned, and they feel they can actually excitedly and enthusiastically work with their co-partners within the organization. In the flow process, it is quite important as well that each individual that is part of the process gets homework. That could be self-reflection, it could be for them to reevaluate their values, it could also be for them to just simply go home and actually reflect on the process and what actually came up from there for them on an emotional level or on a mental level or on a conscious level to assist them in finding clarity within themselves. And we will then have a look at on a list of various modalities as to what would the homework be. But generally in the process, we will actually find that there would be a reflection due to the dynamics of the challenges that came up in a flow situation based on personality or behavior or value systems that maybe are not in alignment. So in closing of our process of the internal flow, we will all get some homework to do for the next session. And so that could be a reflective process. It could be that you need to reevaluate your value system, or simply to have a look at what were the emotions, what were the blocks, what were the challenges that came up in this internal flow process, and how would you like to see it differently? What would your contribution be in this whole process? And we will look forward to seeing you next week for episode 4. And enjoy your homework and your reflection work. See you next week. Thank you. Bye-bye.